Now, joining me from Melbourne is Liberal MP Tim Smith, who has written to the Council for the Order of Australia Committee demanding that Arndt be stripped of her OAM. Tim, welcome to the program. And why did you write this letter?
Well, good evening, Shari. I wrote this letter because I just thought that Bettina Arndt's comments crossed the line. I thought her trying to rationalise the execution-style murder of 3 young children by setting them on fire with their mother was so bad that our country can't possibly give this woman an award. And I think in the interest of protecting the Order of Australia, protecting the Governor-General and the Crown, I think that the Council for the Order of Australia should advise the Governor-General that Bettina Arndt's AM be cancelled, because anyone of right mind knows that you can't ever justify this sort of extreme violence. The idea that this bloke was driven too far is simply disgusting. And as a Conservative, as a Liberal, we believe in people being held to account for their actions, and by saying that he was driven too far, you're essentially saying that people don't have responsibility for their actions under the law. Well, I fundamentally disagree with that notion. Look, I believe we are all accountable to the law, under the law, and all accountable for our actions.
Look, I'll get into Bettina Arndt a little bit more in a moment, but I just want to go to this idea of her having her Order of Australia revoked. You know, if someone is prosecuted or has a criminal offence or go to jail, you know, I can understand the case for it. But what do you think, you know, if we start taking orders away from people, if they say something that's socially unacceptable, you know, where would this end?
Well, in the ordinances for the Order of Australia, there is a whole section on cancellations and terminations. And an award can be terminated or cancelled if the Council for the Order of Australia believes that the comments by an awardee would bring the order into disrepute. And I believe that Bettina Arndt's comments were so bad that they do bring the order into disrepute. Now, frankly, I don't know why she got the order in the first place, but let's put that commentary to one side because we can't change that. It is what it is. But subsequent to getting the order, I think her commentary was so bad with regards to the murders that we saw in Brisbane last week that on behalf of all Australians, this award's given on behalf of all of us, I don't think she should get one.
Bettina used to be an advisor to the Howard government on the Child Support Review Reference Group in 2004 and also on the Family Law Pathways Advisory Group. These groups were part of the redrafting of the Australian family law. Does it concern you now what her input into drafting our family law was?
Look, I think Bettina Arndt has become more extreme as the years have gone by. I don't think she was nearly this extreme during the Howard government years. I think some of her commentary of recent years has gone beyond mainstream Australia to the fringes, and as a consequence, I don't see her advising the Morrison government or the Abbott government or the Turnbull government on any such matters.
Look, you published your letter to the Council. What was the response that you had from the public? I mean, you understandably had a lot of people supporting your views, but I understand that you also had people who agreed with her sentiment that this killer was driven too far.
Look, there has been some very, very warm responses to my letter, but there's also been some utterly vile responses on social media, via email. I've been called a fag. I've been called, some people questioning, have I ever been through divorce? Don't you know what it's like? Men are driven too far. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can't justify murdering 3 little kids and their mum in a car on their way to school by setting them on fire. You can't justify that no matter what's happened. It can't be justified. It's medieval violence. It's the sort of stuff that we send our brave servicemen and women to Iraq and Syria to fight ISIS and to Afghanistan to fight the Taliban to stop. Those regimes support and perpetuate this sort of extreme violence, often against women. And for it to happen in a suburb in Brisbane in Australia in 2020 is absolutely unacceptable. It's absolutely disgusting. And for everyone that's had a go at me for calling out Bettina Arndt, I'd say have a good hard look at yourself, reflect on yourself, because that is not who we are as a people in this country.
Tim, there have been some other Liberal politicians who've come out to support you. Have you contacted the federal government over this? Have you had support from, you know, do you know what the Prime Minister's views are on this?
Look, I haven't spoken to the Prime Minister, obviously, but I obviously have been in touch with members of the federal government. Sarah Henderson, the Senator from Victoria, has tweeted today supporting my position. Neil Mitchell, who is 3AW Mornings host here in Melbourne. Neil has made a wonderful contribution on Twitter today, saying something very similar to me. So I think there's going to be a push this week for Bettina Arndt to be stripped of this award, for her AM to be cancelled. I think that's appropriate, and I think you'll see support across the political divide on this matter. Yeah,
well, we'll see how the week unfolds. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Tim.
Thanks, Sherry.